Hello. I guess we're doing this again. This is what went wrong with last night's show. I apologize for the somewhat extended hiatus. There were just lots of things going on, moving about through different cities, and also just in general, I don't know, I think that I was too focused on these little videos and not the stand-up itself, and that was taking away from the stand-up. And as well, there were a couple nights where things went so terribly, I just didn't want to talk about them. And other nights when I guess maybe I was just enjoying myself or not, and then I had a little bit more than I would have liked to have, had to drink, and then I couldn't really recall the narrative of the evening. But generally, anyway, for whatever reasons. But then what happened is, all these comics started saying to me, why aren't you doing more of these videos? They said they could really relate. And it was a nice thing for them to ask me because, one, it's nice to know that people like what you're putting out into the world, but two, it's also kind of nice to know that I'm not the only one having terrible nights and that they can relate. In its own way, that's a good thing, even though I don't wish that upon, my friends. Some people, sure. Anyway, there are lots of things going on, but what I want to talk about is last night's show, which actually begins about 8 days earlier. I did a show on a Tuesday, and immediately after my set, this kid I'd never met before, comes up to me and he says, "Oh," he's like, "that was great." He's like, "I'm putting on a show just with my friends on a Sunday. Would you want to come do a set?" And I was like, this is the end of the conversation, like that's it. So I said I'd get in touch with him. And so I checked the Facebook page, and basically it was advertised as a night for him and his friends to mess around. And so that the night wouldn't be a total disaster, he would ask like some real comics to come and perform. And then he was charging admission. And so I emailed him and I said, "Look, I noticed you're charging admission, and I was wondering if there's any pay and what the pay might be." And he wrote me back and he said, No. He's like, "You wouldn't have to, there'd be no admission for you. You wouldn't have to pay to get in because you'd be performing." And I didn't know how to respond to that. I wasn't sure whether he was playing dumb or he actually, I didn't know what was going on, but he seemed like a very nice guy. So I waited till about 4 hours before the show to call him and say, "Look, no, you misunderstood my email, because I feel as though if you're charging admission and you want like comics to make the night a success, for your future show, so you're producing this." And he said, "Well, basically no one's getting any money." And the thing is, I sort of because you don't want to alienate yourself constantly. I wanted the stage time. It was a Sunday night. But at the same time, I think in principle, you don't want to contribute to this community and create a world where like comics who deserve money for what they do, because they put in all this time and effort and training and they put on a good show, they should get rewarded. Anyway, there's a real problem with free shows. Anyway, so I ended up going to do the show, and it started like a half hour late after the point when I said I had to leave. And then what happened though is the guy felt bad because I guess it was sort of like a passive aggressive doing at the show. I wasn't really friendly. So he bought me a drink, which was a nice gesture. The world isn't perfect. And then on my way out, one of the organizers of the show, not him, but someone, who runs the space basically, in a very sort of gentlemanly fashion, he sort of solved the situation a little bit, which is a nice thing. So I appreciate that. It was nice. So sometimes you complain a bit, and maybe somebody shuts you up. I don't know. I didn't ask for the reasons why. And then at the same time, though, one of my friends, I know that he's opened for, he's performed in theaters where thousands of dollars are made, and he's made nothing. So what do you do? Anyway, the last thing I want to say is it was a very weird experience. Some director of these small films saw these videos and then basically told me he'd like me to be in one of his films and just to be myself. And it turned out what he asked me to go in for wasn't like a meeting of the cast, but just an audition. And the audition was to come in at 9:30 in the morning and sit on the couch beside this cute girl just sitting on a couch, and to act natural and see what kind of chemistry we have. And then there was no chemistry, because if you put me beside some cute girl I've never met before and ask me to be myself, I'm just going to be very polite. So I don't think, I guess maybe the person who got the role naturally had chemistry. It never even occurred to me till now that that could have been a possibility. I guess he could be a good person.